Think of a bird. Most birds have a very effective defense mechanism. Do you know what that is? The answer is actually quite obvious. It's flying. Being able to fly is a big advantage for survival. Most predators can run. Some are really fast, so running away is not that effective if you're not faster. Some predators can even swim, so water is not a safe escape route either. But most predators cannot fly, so that is indeed a good escape route. And the Pitohui can fly, so why would it need to develop a potent neurotoxin to protect itself? Let's talk about that. But first, let me bring up the question. What exactly is Pitohui? Pitohui is not a single species of bird. Pitohui itself is a common name for several birds. In the past, all these birds are classified in the genus Pitohui. It was then separated into multiple genera, even multiple families. For this video, we're gonna talk about the Pitohui in the genus Pitohui. These Pitohui are members of the Oriolidae family. Those who live in the Old World might be familiar with this family. There are at least 4 recognized species in this genus, which are the hooded Pitohui, Pitohui dicros, northern variable Pitohui, Pitohui chirocephalus, southern variable Pitohui, Pitohui uropigialis, and Raja Ampat Pitohui, Pitohui cervinifentris. These birds can be found around New Guinea, both Indonesian Papua and Papua New Guinea. Some can also be found in islands near the mainland New Guinea. Oh, by the way, apparently Pitohui is taken from the name the locals gave them, which is supposed to be an onomatopoeia of their call. I personally don't see how their call can be pronounced Pitohui, but it's whatever. I cannot really play the sound in the video because of copyright, but you can look it up in Sinocanto if you're curious. For the characteristics, I'm gonna use the hooded Pitohui as the base so it's easier. Among the songbirds, they are medium-sized. Adults averaging around 20 to 22 centimeters with a mass of around 70 grams. The southern variable Pitohui is slightly bigger, reaching up to 25 centimeters. Meanwhile, the Raja Ampat Pitohui is slightly smaller. Their plumage is black and brown. The southern variable Pitohui has darker color. The northern variable Pitohui has grayish plumage instead of black. The Raja Ampat Pitohui is even paler compared to the rest. All in all, they have similar brownish plumage. In fact, this is an interesting phenomenon which I'll talk about later. Females are similar to the males. Juveniles are also similar with their adults, so there is not much dimorphism. They mostly eat fruits, but also eat seeds and invertebrates, like spiders, flies, ants, and beetles, including the larvae. Just like most modern birds, birds of a feather flock together. Sometimes they eat together. Sometimes also observed to flock with other species to forage. They usually lay 1 or 2 eggs, and 2 or more birds are often observed guarding the nest and feeding the fledglings. When approached, they are observed to raise their head feathers, most likely as a threat display, but could also be signaling their toxicity. So, let's talk about their toxicity. But before that, their toxin is neurotoxin, so it attacks the nerve system. In fact, some people reported to feel slight numbness on the tip of their fingers when touching adult Pitohui. Their toxin is homobatrachotoxin, which is a derivative of batrachotoxin. Some of you might notice that it's the same toxin found in some amphibians, and that is correct. In fact, it's the same toxin that can be found in the poison dart frogs. Still, the toxicity of Pitohuis is quite significantly lower than the poison dart frogs. First, let's talk about where the toxin came from. While the batrachotoxin is known from the frog, the toxin itself is actually not self-made by the frogs. They obtain the toxin by eating insects that produce the toxin. So it's like Kirby swallowing things and obtaining the power. That's also why poison dart frogs that were raised in captivity does not produce the toxin, because they don't eat the insects that produce said toxin. But that's the poison dart frogs. What about the Pitohui? They don't live in the same place after all, so they don't eat the same thing. Still, the source of the Pitohui's batrachotoxin is most likely beetles in the genus Corecine. Batrachotoxin can indeed be found in the Corecine, and Pitohuis are confirmed to eat Corecine, even if it's not their main diet. Still, it's not definitive evidence. It's still possible that they obtained the toxin from something different. There was a proposed theory that they may apply the toxin topically, like rubbing the beetles or some sorts of toxins into their feathers and skins to make it toxic. This is an unlikely theory because they do have their toxins in their muscles and internal organs. Still, the toxicity is indeed significantly higher in the feathers and skins. Also, the toxicity varies between body parts. It's significantly higher in their backs and breasts. One possible application theory is they could rub their eggs with their breasts to make them toxic to deter predators. Only a theory though. Anyway, if we return to the previous graph, the variety of toxicity based on their locality might also indicate that they do obtain the toxin by consuming specific prey, because it varies between region. Might be caused by the varying abundance of that specific prey between areas. By the way, the toxicity also varies between species, with the hooded and northern variable Pitohui being significantly more toxic, while the others are not so much. So, we've talked about the what, where, and how, but what about the why? Just like what I've said in the intro, why would a bird develop a potent toxin? The first straight answer would be to protect them from predators. There are observations that stated the Pitohui toxin is effective to deter some of its predators. For example, the green tree python, brown tree snakes, raptor birds, arboreal marsupials, and also humans. But that's just observations though. It's not tested. Well, at the very least, we know that it's effective for humans, since we don't eat them because of that. The other explanation is to protect them from ectoparasites. Basically, it will kill the ectoparasites that tries to bite them. This is supported by the low number of tick infestations on them. Still, both of these theories could be true. Oh, remember I said I'm gonna talk about them having similar coloration? So, this reddish-brown plumage might be some kind of aposematic coloration, which is color pattern used to signal the toxicity of certain animals to deter predators, just like the bright color of the poison dart frogs. So, this shared coloration could be a type of Mullerian mimicry, which is a type of mimicry where multiple dangerous species mimic each other to amplify their signal. In this case, their aposematism. This could be effective for visual predators. At least it's effective to deter humans since locals are known to notice them by their reddish-brown plumage. By the way, locals called them the rubbish bird, because they cannot be eaten. Still, I've heard they can be eaten after deskinning and coating the flesh in charcoal and roasting it. Doesn't sound delicious in my opinion, but hey, if it works, it works. The Pitohui genus is not the only Pitohui to have the toxin. The crested Pitohui and the rusty Pitohui are also known to be toxic, each from a different genus. Now, while we're at it, let's debunk some clickbaity claim. I've heard several articles claim that they are the only poisonous bird. That is definitely false. I mean, I've stated that other genera are also toxic. But even if we group them together as Pitohui and we want to claim the Pitohui is the only poisonous bird, that is still false. We know the Ifrit is also toxic since the year 2000. No, I don't mean the demon. I mean the bird. This bird. Since we knew that birds can be poisonous, that idea brought us to even more discovery of toxicity in birds. For example, the European quail with their coturnism, the hoopoe, the red warbler, and maybe even more. So yeah, definitely not the only poisonous bird. The realization that birds can be poisonous led us to such a discovery. Who knows what we will discover in the future? But that's the end of this video. For now, let's just learn what is known. And that's all for now. By the way, if you are interested in more interesting birds, then you could check out my video on the Hoatzin, also known as the flying cow. Or check out my video on the frigate birds, the pirates of the sky. Anyway, enjoy your day.